All right, joining us now is former Deputy Independent Counsel, Fox News contributor Saul Weisenberg, and President and founder of the Article 3 Project, Mike Davis. We have our political panel also standing by. Mike, Trump's arriving at the jail at any moment, but earlier today, he got a brand new attorney. Actually, we're going to go to Saul on this question. Saul, he got a brand new attorney. I know you know him well. What can you tell us about Stephen Sadow, who will be with him tonight as he gets processed?
I wouldn't say I know him well, but I know him, and he's an outstanding criminal defense attorney, ferocious trial advocate, great cross-examiner. So I think it's a great choice. Drew Feinling, his current lead counsel down there, is also an outstanding attorney. So I don't know what the issue was, but he really has picked somebody who's outstanding and is kind of a real fighter in the Trump mold.
Mike, the motorcade is arriving right at the courthouse. And they're going through the gates at this moment, and there'll be some perfunctory details they have to get through as they walk through. I wonder if the president's going to have to go through the magnetometer. I guess he will with the Secret Service. The whole thing is just ridiculous. Mike, your reaction to these pictures we're seeing? I mean, this has never happened in the history of the United States. A presidential motorcade going to take a former president to be processed, booked, and the left hopes humiliated. But I think the country's going to have something to say about this. Mike.
Yeah, this is outrageous. Here we have another Democrat prosecutor and another Democrat hellhole dragging a former president and a leading presidential candidate in to indict him and book him and to take a mugshot for the non-crime of objecting to a presidential election, which is allowed by the Electoral Count Act of 1887. Twisting political arms is allowed by the First Amendment. To charge racketeering here is laughable, and I hope President Trump's legal team immediately files a motion to dismiss. He has presidential immunity for his acts as the President of the United States. Alternatively, as a private citizen, the First Amendment protects his actions. This is lawless. This is Democrat lawfare. This is election interference.
Saul, the fact that he can be, actually prosecuted in a county like Fulton County, Georgia, for his actions as president, really, and I know they threw in some other things post-presidency, but that in and of itself seems to have been such a legitimate cause for removal to the federal court system. How do you see this playing out?
Well, there's a statute, as you know, that allows him to move for removal. It's not automatic, but if you are either sued or indicted for actions that you took as part of your lawful authority or your authority as a federal office holder, you can remove it, and it's up to the discretion of the judge. I think that he will do that, and I think it should be removed. I've got a real problem with state and local prosecutors from around the country believing that they can prosecute a president or former
just gum up the whole system. Like, why even have a president? Let's just have multiple investigations all across the country and in blue states and blue counties, and I mean, we can just disrupt any president, I guess, going forward. I want to quickly go to Fox's Brian Yanes. We'll get back to the legal panel in a moment, who's outside the jail where Trump is inside right now. Our political panel also standing by. Brian, what was the scene?
Laura, good evening. Well, it was a spectacle, as you had said earlier in the show. Really, let me give you an idea of how the security is out here. This is a hard lockdown, according to the Fulton County Sheriff. To your left over here, you can see the line of sheriff deputies as well as the roads that are blocked here on Jefferson Street. This is right in front of the entrance where we just saw the motorcade coming in. Now, this area has been locked down for at least the last couple of hours. On the other side of the jail, there are about 150 or so Trump supporters and protesters that have been out here rallying all day. And if we actually keep turning the camera, you can see they even have dumpster trucks here blocking the way. This is all part of the security, obviously, when you have an unprecedented event as a former president that is now currently being booked inside of that jail. You can also see tons of press that have been barricaded out here on Jefferson Street. From what we understand, what's happening right now inside, if Cappy can show the jail, we can only show you from where we are right now. But, you know, Patrick Labat, who who is the sheriff here, says that they're going to go through normal protocol as any criminal defendant. We'll see if that ends up happening with negotiations with the Secret Service, but normal protocol means he'll have to go through the magnetometers, he'll be fingerprinted after he surrenders, and he'll also, yes, we anticipate, take a mugshot. And we know that that mugshot will be made available fairly quickly because they've done this before. 11 of the last, 11 of the 18 co-defendants of the former president have turned themselves in, and their mugshots have been released, including former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who turned himself in today and was released on a $100,000 bond. That mugshot will be made available for the public, for everyone to see. It even includes the weight of the defendant. So that'll give you an idea as to just how much information we'll get. Obviously, this is the fourth time that the former president has gone through something like this, his fourth criminal case, but this is the first time that he's had to, go in and be booked like this and have a mugshot taken. It'll be the first time he'll also have to pay a bond to be released. He'll have to pay a $200,000 bond to be released from that Fulton County jail. I think also, Laura, I want people to understand is that when they're looking at this jail right now, this is not a normal jail. This is a notorious jail that is under DOJ investigation for its heinous conditions and excessive violence. Laura.
Brian, thank you so much. I want to bring back Saul Weisenberg and Mike Davis. Saul, just again, paint this picture of how unusual and striking this scene is, with a former president being brought into a stridently Democrat district to be processed in this manner for what amounts to mostly disputing the results of the election and deciding to, take various measures to perhaps allow for challenges to go forward and alternate slate of electors, whatever anyone thinks about that. For that to be the basis of a county prosecution, paralleling a federal prosecution, paint the picture.
Well, you have to keep in mind both this prosecutor in Fulton County and the prosecutor in Manhattan, they basically campaigned on going after Donald Trump. And you have to ask yourself, like Charlie Hurt was saying earlier, no matter what party you're in, do you want any prosecutor in any county, in any state in this country, all of a sudden thinking and taking it upon themselves, I think I'm going to indict the President of the United States, who's very unpopular in my county and my district. I think it's a road that we don't want to take. Federal prosecution is a completely different thing if there's a valid case. But when you start getting these state prosecutors who can be notorious for publicity seeking and, I want a mugshot of the former president and I want him to walk through a magnetometer, I think it's something people should think very deeply about.
Mike, the House Committee on the Judiciary is investigating Fani Willis regarding her motivations for prosecuting former President Trump. This could be quite something given her history. Your reaction to this? Is this the only thing the House can do? I think there's a lot more they could do, but sound off on this.
I'd like to commend House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan for performing necessary oversight here. There's clear coordination between these Democrat prosecutors and these Democrat hellholes of New York, D.C., and Atlanta to wage election interference against President Trump. They waited 30 months to bring these bogus, lawless charges against President Trump, and now all of a sudden they're demanding these fast trials that just happen to interfere in the presidential election. And I think Jim Jordan is very correct in saying we're not going to use federal funds to interfere in this election, and if you're coordinating with the Biden Justice Department, including Jack Smith, that's highly inappropriate. We saw Fani Willis at her press conference, she refused to answer whether she's coordinating with the Biden Justice Department, including Jack Smith, and I think Jim Jordan's going to get to the bottom of that.
Saul, are you that hopeful?
Well, he certainly has the power. Congress has broad power to investigate if there's a legislative purpose. But what I find quite shocking and almost unprecedented is you've now got the state and the federal authorities going after each other. And again, I don't think that's an area. It's very rare to have a House committee investigating a state prosecutor. We saw some of this when I was working for Ken Starr, where Bill Clinton got his allies in state government in Arkansas to actually go after some of our key witnesses. It's a very dangerous thing. It's a bad thing when that happens because people have to have faith in the criminal justice system. And so I'm worried about it. But I think he has every right to look into this, Jim Jordan.
All right, legal, stand by. We're going back to our political panel.